We're live. Hi guys, how are we doing? So yeah, it's good. It's good to be back with the lives. Obviously, Rachel did one last week, and we've got Rory tonight. So Rory is well, how long have you been training on and off with me now, Rory?
I think I must have first met you. I think I must have come back to the maybe after uni, so maybe like 2011, 12. Well, I sort of probably I think we've maybe been about on the rugby scene and things like that. But I think that's when I probably started to first get to know you. Probably you were just opening Frontier maybe, and you were in Total Fitness where I was training. Yes, and then you opened Frontier, and I sort of popped over through some mutual friends and signed up.
And you made an impact.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it.
So around over 10 years then.
Yeah, I'd say at least, yeah.
Yeah. So guys, what the aim is of this live tonight, it's not just to kind of blow hot air up Rory's arse. I think, you know, that's the last thing we want to do with Rory. His head will get too big.
Yeah, definitely.
It's to talk about, you know, ultimately what were the things he put in place to make his first 6 weeks successful. Now, it's not saying, oh, Rory's done 6 weeks amazingly, okay, that's it. It's not. He's built some really good foundations, really good building blocks here, which are going to obviously ensure that he pushes on to the next thing going forward. But I think we all want a good start. When we embark on health and fitness, we all want that good start. And Rory, what he did over these 6 weeks was the epitome of a good start. And fundamentally, he did it in a really, really healthy way as well. He didn't cheat. He didn't go to extremes. He did it really healthy. So what I want this live to get across to you guys tonight is, what his mindset was like and how that helped him throughout these 6 weeks. And fundamentally, what his work ethic was like throughout these 6 weeks. So to give everyone an understanding actually of what it takes to produce a 6 week transformation like Rory did. So Rory, do you want to expand on that? Like kind of, you know, what you think people will get out tonight, what you're going to say?
Yeah, I mean, I think, so obviously, as we've said, I've obviously known you a long time, Cookie. I've trained, you know, I've always been into sport, but, you know, trained kind of probably regularly since uni in the gym, but all before up until sort of 18, always played a lot of rugby. So, you know, I come from, you know, maybe a more advanced starting position than some, but behind where maybe others who are doing this process are. So, you know, in terms of, you know, my journey, but also, you know, how I took on the 6 weeks, I'm sure, you know, there's maybe some interesting kind of things that can, if it can help, you know, one or two people or get their heads around this from there, and then you know, I'm sure something will come up, as much as, you know, I can learn from other people, right? Like say, I mean, obviously I signed up with you for this 6 week program, you know, but before I signed up, you know, my thought process was I was just going to come into the new year and just, you know, do my usual thing, check the diet a bit, carry on with the kind of way I was training. And actually, I just thought, you know, it would be a very good time to, you know, go sign up with someone, make myself accountable with someone who's much more knowledgeable about this than I am, as maybe a, you know, more of a sort of relatively knowledgeable amateur, you know, someone whose job is to know this stuff. And you know, because you can always pick up a few things, and I definitely did learn a lot on that on the experience.
So Rory, sorry to cut you off, mate. Let's just tap into that just a little bit more then. So just a few things from that. And I know when I first initially put your transformation out, I did get a lot of messages, not asking if you were single, but it is asking like, wow, like what's he done? Like, tell me what he's done. I want to do exactly that. Or, you know, I had clients getting in touch with me saying, I want to do whatever like Rory's just done. And the fact is, like, this is the problem I see with social media and with putting pictures out, is that your starting position is totally different to everyone else's out there. You know, like we've just alluded to, like we've known each other over 10 years now. And since I've known you, you've been weight training consistently throughout that period of time. And a lot of people haven't been doing that. And without a shadow of a doubt, that years and years and years and years worth of weight training experience has no doubt helped this 6-week block. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what I would say on that is, I'd say where I'm at now is an amalgamation of lots of like programs, not always like, you know, a shred, but lots of like programs of going through a period of hitting the gym consistently. And each time, if I've maybe added, like when I've come to the end of that kind of program or time where I've hit the gym consistently, if I've maybe added like a couple of good habits by the end of that, then that kind of that stick, you know, maybe when you really like go for it in the gym for like, you know, 6, 7 weeks, 8 weeks, you change like half a dozen habits. You introduce like a shake at a certain time, you start using MyFitnessPal for the first time, you know, and then as you come out, you sort of, you maybe your life gets busy again and you go back, you maybe slip a bit, or not slip, but you kind of move away from being so, you know, regimented and consistent. But if like a couple of those habits can stick, then the next time when you start again, your next cycle, you're already in a better position than when you started your last cycle. I suppose, yeah, when I started this 6 weeks program, you know, I was already in a good position because there's a lot of habits that I picked up over the years or put into my own life that you know, that were sort of already there and cemented, because every time I've, you know, gone through a phase of sticking to the gym and go through it, I've got just to come away at the end of that process with a couple of things that I do better for myself, if you know what I mean. And some of those things are like, you know, if I look back at when I started training, you know, I would have just thought, well, like, oh, I'm never going to do that. That's such a like pain in the ass. I'm never going to be a guy that's like counting calories, and then eventually you try it and realize it's actually quite easy, and you put it in as a habit that you know, every day at a certain time, you just make sure you put into MyFitnessPal if you are tracking in that phase or whatever. And then before you know it, it's a really easy thing you do all the time that one day you couldn't have ever imagined yourself doing. So yeah, that's what I say about that is those years of like you know, that starting position I was in was a sort of accumulation of years of going through little cycles like this, and then, you know, each time just coming away with like a couple of things that you didn't do before that you now do all the time, or, you know, into your sort of routine.
So if that's the case, then Rory, so the knowledge you've picked up from the weight training, the knowledge you picked up from the nutrition, and all the habits you've created over those 10 to 12 years, why did you sign up then in the new year?
Because so there's a few reasons really. So like I say, I mean, my thoughts initially were, all right, new year, or, you know, post Christmas, it's always a good time. I think it's always a good time to do it. I know people sort of like think that some people say that you know, there's never a good time to start a diet. I actually think after Christmas, you know, always is. I know there's the fad of everyone rushing to the gym and then, you know, it peters out after a few weeks, but you know, quite often when you've had a period of like really overindulging, that's a perfect time. You're really ready to like, and I was right after Christmas really ready to kind of knuckle down. Sometimes you maybe need to push yourself to that point where you like, right, let's sort of crack on. But I sort of thought, do you know what? I've probably been going on my own for a few years now where I haven't really reached out to someone for help. You know, and I think that's a good thing to do every now and then, because you can always learn, you can always get a fresh perspective on things. And I did feel that with my training, I was maybe in a little bit of a treading water phase. So I was kind of I was doing a lot of running and a lot of fitness stuff, you know, mixed in with the weights, and I was starting to pick up a few injuries, and I was sort of maybe turning into a bit of a hamster on the wheel, you know, making sure that my calories in and calories out each week. And I could sense that I was starting to like lose my will with it a little bit. And So I thought, you know, I've known you for a long time. My sister and obviously mum did tread with you last year.
Yeah.
And I thought, you know, it'd be very good to get, you know, be accountable to someone, get a fresh sort of set of eyes on what I'm doing, you know, and you know, be genuinely critical about what I'm doing, and just rather than just doing the sort of same thing for the sake of it because it's what I know. Sometimes it's just, you need someone, a fresh set of eyes on, to go like, look, mate, you're overtraining. You're actually working harder than you need to be, which is essentially what you did to get to where you want to be. If we can just adjust your training, we're going to get rid of those injuries. You're going to get revitalized in terms of, you know, up for training and not lose your way with it. So yeah, I would say those are the main things, were like fresh set of eyes on what I was doing and how I could you know, how I could still do what the exercises and things that make me enjoy it, but also maybe get back some of that kind of buzz and, you know, goal orientated kind of drive from someone. And yeah, like I say, accountability and particularly on the diet as well. Like I knew I was kind of probably missing things on the diet that you know, someone like yourself could kind of point me in the right direction. So yeah, I think, you know, you can always develop and learn things. And you know, there was a good opportunity, it was a good time to jump in with someone and get that sort of steer, really.
I think you've just reminded me, just set off like a light bulb moment. I can remember our first chat, similar to this, obviously just not with people tuning in. And you were reeling off all these things like, yeah, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, I'm doing that. And I was just thinking in my head, like, fucking hell, mate, like, you don't even need to do like half of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And obviously we talked about it. I said, listen, like, let's just strip it right back. Let's just focus on weight training and making the biggest impact from the food. And I kind of know with you, because like once you get into something, it's like a case of pulling your reins a little bit and holding you back.
Yeah.
But then obviously we started to drip feed it gently back in, didn't we?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, that's it. I mean, I was doing like I think I got quite fit over lockdown, over the first lockdown, and got quite relatively good shape. And then obviously that was very easy in lockdown because, you know, there wasn't the kind of the lures, the temptations and stuff, because no one was really going out. So I found that a very easy time to basically get in very good shape. And then I think as the world kind of opened up again, you know, and the nights out start happening and things like that, it then became a case of like maintaining that. So, you know, I would be like really low calorie Monday to Friday, like almost ridiculously some days, and doing loads of exercise and running and big workouts on not a lot of calories, just so that I could kind of splurge on the weekend and keep the physique that I was in. And that worked for a while. You know, I just kept, but then eventually, you know, that you will never out sort of train those nights out, and those sort of nights out start to build up. And then obviously you don't always have the time or energy, or if you're hanging, you're not going to do it. It's like to expend the sort of calories to afford the nights out. So then you start to like put a little bit of weight back on. I mean, I didn't like excessively put loads of weight back on. And when I took that picture for your first start of yours, you know, that was post-Christmas, quite bloated. You know, it was probably like the worst the worst I'd looked for a while, and I was quite comfortable with that. But it also that kind of cycle starts to become very demotivating very quickly when you're getting up on a Monday and you're like, right, back to the routine. I need to smash out this, and I need to just watch my calories today. And then you kind of get to like Friday and you can start letting, and it's like just becomes that living for the weekend cycle. And I definitely got into that. And that was one of the reasons I thought it would be worth jumping in with you, Cookie, was because I thought, you know, you'd be a guy who'd seen that a million times, I've no doubt, who could maybe give me some advice on like how, you know, life could be sort of less like one end of the scale is just absolute like discipline and abstinence, so that you can sort of splurge on the other end of the scale. And I think, you know, the way I did it with you over the 6 weeks was a much more pleasant way of than how I'd done it in the past. And I'm sure we'll come on to it, but carrying it on now, a few weeks on from when we finished, I feel as buzzing about my. I'm not in a cycle where I'm just trying to be calories in, calories out. There's more to what I'm doing now, and I'd really drifted into that. So yeah, that was a huge thing that came out, and a big reason why I sort of turned to you to get some advice and a bit of guidance on it.
Because I mean, that's the thing. Like, listen, my approach with everyone, there is exceptions, but regards to people stepping on stage or people doing photo shoots, but realistically, I'll probably never train those people. But regarding getting in shape, getting leaner, losing some weight, looking and feeling better about yourself, why not make it flexible for the individual? You're not telling me you can't fit in all types of food, all types of drink, and still see some results. And it's like, of course you can. It's proof in the pudding of how I've been coaching the past 3.5 years that you can do exactly that, and not just do that, see some life-changing results in the process. And it absolutely infuriates me. It makes me so angry when I hear and I see coaches like myself restricting their clients so much just so that they can get a transformation, etc. When actually what's happening is they're not fulfilling their moral obligation with that person. They're not actually looking after the interests of that individual. They're not trying to fit something into that individual's lifestyle that they can carry on going forward. They're just doing it for their own benefit. And, obviously that's talking generally about what I did, but I also think, like, with regards to what you were doing, Rory, I always got the sense when we were checking in weekly that you were enjoying the process.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. I think the big thing is, that's been a huge thing I've picked up over years versus, when you look at when things have gone well and when they haven't, like, enjoying the process is a huge thing. And I'm just as guilty as the next person of thinking about the end goal. But that, I think when things have worked for me is actually just looking at, like, going, thinking week to week, being, slightly down on body fat week to week and enjoying that kind of win. And, but the big thing this time as well for me was, obviously we stripped right back and sort of knocked a lot of the running on the head and stuff. And in my mind, when I started the process, I thought this won't, that won't last long. Like you said, look, give me 2 weeks without you running. And I was thinking, yeah, okay, I'll do that. I'll commit to that. And then, if I will speak about it and bring it back in. And I still haven't been on a run since Christmas. So, like, so, you know what I mean? And that's another reason I sort of doing this. Sometimes you need someone else. You won't question yourself unless you put yourself at the sort of judgment of someone else. And I would have never stopped all the running. And actually, I started to when I started that process with you and just put my faith in you, I started to lose weight without running, and my injuries went away. So that's not to say that I won't ever go on a run. Like, it's, probably did help that the weather was awful. And, when the weather gets nicer, I definitely intend to just go out and go on some trail runs. But when I do that, it will be entirely because it's a nice day and I want to just strap the trail shoes on and just go for a poodle outside and enjoy the weather. Whereas before it was like, right, we've got to run, 20k to get so we get the calories out and sort of hit a wall with that. But the big thing I think that whenever we would catch up would be not talking about not only what my body stats were doing in terms of weight, in terms of measurements and stuff, but I'd be saying, yeah, mate, my like leg press was up, it skyrocketed this week, which and my my deadlift was up and my weights were just flying up really. And I think, like I say, I've weightlifted a long time, but I've probably never really got the nutrition right and plateaued very quickly. Whereas it basically just reinvigorated me because you're seeing sort of seeing success each week, but also you're not just there focusing on the body image, which we all want a good body, and we're all self-conscious. But I think if that's your only goal, that you're working towards, you're gonna run into a wall pretty quickly. Whereas if you can start to enjoy going up weights each week because you're getting enough protein in and you're doing the right program and you're not killing yourself out on runs, so that you're not, when you do go into the gym, you've got the energy and to lift more. And then, you know, the kind of the body composition has come as like as a byproduct of that, rather than just
that. I love that.
Yeah, exactly, right. And but but your focus is actually on something else. It's almost like you've drawn my attention away over here, and then one day you look back and you're like, oh, and actually I'm looking in quite good shape. So you know, that definitely, and that's one thing I've, you know, carried on now, is like when we got to that final picture, you know, there's a very easy chance of like, well, what happens now? And if you're just focused on body image, you'll lose that like composition very quickly, and you know, you'll probably have a bit of body dysmorphia where, you know, 2 days later you look at yourself after a big weekend or something, and you'll be like, oh, I've put on so much weight. You haven't, but you know, that's just the way we all are. But I think, you know, coming out, the way I've been able to keep it up is because actually I've just thought, well, after I leave Cookie, I'm going to just keep getting those weights up. And to be honest, it's I've not really been dieting particularly hard, and I've not really put anything. Well, I might put on a couple of pounds, but I don't really care because my weights are going up, and that's the focus. So yeah, I would say that was definitely a big thing, and that, you know, got me really fired up for training again, which I needed.
Yeah.
And no doubt again at some point I will need it again. You know, I'll hit a wall, I'll need a new, and you know, that's when it's a good thing to just call on someone like yourself and say, hey mate, can I carry on with you for a while, and maybe get a fresh perspective on things.
Yeah. So here's the thing, guys, and this is speaking to everyone now, right? With regards to running, right? Listen, like, running's great, and it serves a purpose. As for getting lean, as for creating a physique, it's probably not something that you want to be looking to doing straight away. And this is the situation that we had with Rory, was that running was a very integral part of your training. So the way I try to explain it to clients is with regards to all the different fitness components, whether that be HIIT training, whether that be running, whether that be cycling, swimming, weights, yoga, Pilates, whatever it is that we've got this toolbox. We've got this toolbox full of fitness components. And as time goes on, so let's say it's 12 weeks, as time goes on, we want to have the ability to bring these fitness components out of the toolbox for as and when we need them. So the worst thing you can do to start off with as an individual when you're starting off a health and fitness journey is get everything out the toolbox and use it immediately. Because yes, you're going to see results off that, but there's two problems with that. When you get to 3 weeks and you see these results, you don't know what form of training it is that's caused those results, because you're doing every single bit of training. And secondly, the problem is that when you get to 3 weeks and you've plateaued, what other form of training or variable are you going to draw upon in order to continue seeing results? You're not. So with Rory, the key was to do as minimal as possible to start off with. So what is it, weight training 4 or 5 times a week, Rory?
Yeah, it was four sort of, we said 4 50-minute weights training sessions a week. We start off with 50 minutes to an hour, 4 times a week.
Wicked. So 4 to 5 sessions a week of weights, and then focusing on the nutrition. That's 2 variables, guys. So 2 variables out of I don't know how many that we could draw upon, and then as and when was needed, we'd bring the other variables back in. But here's the thing with Rory, just looking at your stats right now. So you lost 5 kilograms over the 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Right. Was that with any cardio?
No, mate. I mean, so one weight session a week. I'd throw in like a few kind of, they'd all be strength sessions, and then one a week I'd kind of mix in a few kind of maybe like things like med ball slams and things like that, just to get the kind of, you know, get the heart rate up a bit. But the thing is, I found like with the weight sessions that you were giving me, you know, they're not like, you know, when you've done 20 a set of 20 walking lunges with, you know, 24 kilos in each arm or something, my heart rate's pretty high, to be honest, anyway. So you know what I mean? It's like the way what you said to me and was enjoy the rest, but like when you're doing a set, you're 100% in, and you're going to come out the end and you're blowing. And that was the thing, I think, was, you know, I was doing sort of like hour-long HIIT sessions where I wasn't stopping for an hour basically, and then you kind of like, when you know that day's coming, you're like, oh, I'm gonna have to put myself through a lot of pain for an hour. And it was really nice to be like, you know, I've got 50 minutes in the gym where when I'm working my ass off for about, you know, for a minute, I'm going to be, you know, really working and blowing, but then I'm going to get a nice like 2-minute rest. And it's not so daunting because you're kind of getting those breaks. So yeah, that was essentially what we agreed, was like, look, you know, I'm going to give you a weight session and, you know, a structure, and I want you to follow it. And he's like, you should be working for, say, you know, 40 seconds to a minute in a set, in the number of reps I've given you. Not that we were targeting a time, but when you finish that set, you're going to get a couple of minutes rest, and you're going to enjoy them because you're going to have busted your gut in that time you're doing the set. So that's what we agreed to. Yeah. And that's basically what I did, 4 sessions a week like that.
Yeah. And here's the thing as well, guys, is all your changes should be based off what the results are. So off Rory's weekly check-ins, he was seeing really good results, not just visually, but also circumference-wise and also weight-wise. So it's like, if it isn't broke, why try and fix it? And, you know, you were happy, weren't you, Rory, with all the check-ins? I was happy.
Yeah.
So it was like, right, let's just crack on. Let's manipulate the calories a little bit. Let's change your carbs. Let's change your protein. And realistically, other than setting goals and objectives for the week ahead, that was it, wasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, our calls were almost, it was quite funny really, because we just end up having a chat, right? Because every week
you talked a lot, mate, didn't you? Let's face it.
Yeah, exactly. I've kissed the Blarney Stone a couple of times, but I mean, it's, you know, I felt like there wasn't too much to sort of say really, just because I felt like it was going really well. So we would just be like, yeah, it was another good week. My weights went up, my measurements are down, and I'm pretty happy with how everything's going. And I think, you know, the only time we ever sort of had a lengthy chat is if just something was creeping up that was on my mind in terms of like a social event or something, and just like strategizing that a bit. But, you know, really I was pretty happy. And, you know, and particularly in terms of like, I've never done a sort of a real sort of good diet, or I hate to use the word diet, but program like that, where I've not really, I tell you every week that I've not felt hungry. And I know a lot of people, that's always like the big surprise for a lot of people, but, you know, I felt like you had me on really like the right amount of calories, but the stuff you're getting me to eat, you know, I would probably get hungry just before I got to my dinner, just because my sort of, you know your dinner's coming. But generally throughout the day, I couldn't believe how much energy I had in terms of, you know, how full I was feeling and things like that. So yeah, all in all, it was, you know, there wasn't much to sort of be, I wasn't too concerned or have any concerns to talk about at the weekly call.
So here's the thing, because obviously time's ticking. We've got half an hour already, and I'm going to put you on the spot now, Rory.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to come up with what you think are the 3 most important things you did during the 6 weeks, which you feel are worth sharing with everyone else, and which you feel could help everyone else out there. I'm going to say the first one, so you've got to come up with 2, 3, and 4. And Rory probably doesn't need to know this, or he does need to know this. He probably doesn't know this, but what comes quite naturally to Rory when he does something like that, like this, is he's able to switch his mindset on straight away to what is required in order to make this a success. And it comes fairly natural to him. It doesn't mean he doesn't need to work at it. He does, and he needs to work hard, but he's able to switch it on like a light switch and switch it back off again if he wants.
Yeah, definitely can.
But I would say that's a fundamental thing which I noticed with you, Rory. And to be honest, it's what I noticed with people that really see life-changing transformations when they're being coached by me is the biggest thing is mindset. So that's number one. So you've got to come up with now number 2, number 3, and number 4, which you feel will help people that have been listening to this tonight.
Yeah. So yeah, I would say number 2 would have been, whilst like, you know, I was definitely doing it to, you know, my initial drive to sign up with you was body composition driven. The biggest thing I actually took away from it is, like I said earlier, what became really a bigger thing was doing a really good weights program and feeling good and going up weights every week. And then actually throughout the process, it actually more shifted that being more my focus. And then you know, not that I wasn't keeping an eye on my figure, but actually it became a kind of 2-pronged thing rather than like just this race to get the body I wanted. So that was a big thing. And we mentioned earlier, it's like, you know, enjoy the process and enjoy, you know, have goals that are not just body composition driven.
And it's funny you should say that, Rory, because there's a post, I'm putting a post out, I think it's scheduled to go out tomorrow or the day after, exactly about that, saying that even your primary goal is weight loss or fat loss, your primary focus should be something else.
Definitely. Yeah.
Like lifting weight, because if you focus on lifting weight, making good choices with your food, then the weight loss and fat loss will be a byproduct of that.
Yeah, definitely. That was that, and that's the biggest thing that's carrying me on now that I'm not with you. 100% is the fact that I'm still going into the gym to make strength gains, and I'm keeping it on top of the diet while I'm, you know, let myself, you know, sort of, I'll probably give myself a bit more leeway now than I was when I was on the 6-week program, in terms of more like, you know, that, you know, going out boozing and things like that occasionally or whatever. Not that, you know, I didn't have treats and stuff, I was on the program, but, you know, you're being much more consistent. But was the thing that is keeping me going now is going into the gym to make gains and then eat the food to lock in those gains, if you know what I mean, so that I know when I go into the gym next week, giving myself the best chance of going up again. And that's going to keep me motivated. So yeah, definitely that is a big one that I took away from it.
Okay, so what's 3 and 4 then?
So three is what I was saying about habits, and things that, like, you know, I always pictured were like way off into the distance, kind of things I would never do, and how easy you can actually just make something part of your life with a little bit of effort, of putting it into your routine, you know, and initially just maybe working a little bit harder to make sure that, right, you know, I'm going to do this at this time, at this, you know, every day for like a week, and then, you know, after a week or two, you're just doing it naturally. And it's just how easily you can do that for, you know, a little bit of effort. And the examples I'm thinking of is like I always knew I was probably missing the mark with my protein levels. So I was always training hard, but I was kind of knew I wasn't really hitting enough protein to lock in those gains, which is probably why, you know, I would maybe plateaued a little bit. And, you know, when I came and worked with you, in my head, I had a misconception probably in my head that to be getting enough protein in every single day, I had to be like those bodybuilders who are eating chicken and broccoli out of a container 5 times a day, and that's the only way you would ever get enough protein in to lock in your gains. And I couldn't be asked for that, so I just kind of just had come to terms with it. I was just never going to be eating enough protein to be big and bulky. And then, you know, coming onto the program with you, you basically showed me like 2 things I could basically do on a training, you know, one every day, and one on a training day, that would 2 very small things I could do that would get my protein way up and where it needed to be putting on muscle. And so those were basically, you gave me a breakfast option that was like, you know, involved put a sort of protein porridge that tastes awesome. That was the other thing. I thought it all looked like it tasted crap. I couldn't be bothered with that either. You gave me a breakfast option that is full of protein that I really enjoy and now have every single day. And you basically gave me like a scoop of whey protein to have with banana for training. And otherwise my lunch and dinners haven't really changed. Like I always had like probably a portion of protein at both of those. So those two really small things were like were things that took my protein levels from just not enough to more than enough, if you know what I mean. And they were just two things that I could put in every day really easily with a bit of effort. And when you told me to do the banana and protein shake, I remember thinking, no, I can't really be asked with like making a banana protein shake before I go to the gym. But then I was like, well, just give it a go. So then I just started like, right, every morning I get up, I've got my little routine. I make my breakfast. I put 1 scoop of whey in the shake. I chuck a banana in, mix it, literally as I walk out the door to go to uni, and then take that with me. And then I've got it for the gym. I thought that would last a week, and now I do it every week, if you know what I mean. So like, a long-winded way of saying it, but essentially, it's very easy to, it's not actually, it's much more daunting to put these things into your like life than it actually is, if you know what I mean. You think these things are like much more of a pain than they are. So just like give it a chance. And same with the running. I thought that wouldn't last with you, and then I gave it a chance and actually find out that actually I feel better for it. So that would be the second thing I took away is, you can put things into your routine that are beneficial to you quite easily. You just have to have that little effort initially, and take a bit of a leap of faith as well.
Yeah. And I think, what you just mentioned there, like things are daunting or, change. We're not, as human beings, we don't like change, and it can be quite daunting. It can be like, oh, it's a bit of risk and, coming out of a comfort zone. But like the amazing thing is, like, we're all very clever people. We've got a lot of common sense. And, when you think of it simply, like if you're still doing the same things and expecting a different result, that's pretty crazy. That's a pretty crazy way of thinking.
Yeah.
And you've got to take that leap of faith. You have to change. You have to change what you're doing, not just for a week, but on a daily basis over a very long period of time. If you want to change the way you look and change the way you feel. And my point being is that there was numerous times when negative things happened to you throughout those 6 weeks, Rory. Yeah. And you managed to put a positive spin on it.
Yeah, I'd say so. I mean, I think, the big thing for me was I was doing my exams at the time. So that was because I was a bit dubious about that in terms of like doing my exams, and my first thought was like, do I want to be hungry when I'm like doing like my revision and stuff like that? And if I'm going to commit to Paul, I'm going to be stressing. So I'll be like, right, well, I know I've got to check in at the end of the week, so I don't want to like overeat and stuff, but I'm also hungry and I want to be able to concentrate. But actually that wasn't an issue at all, because like I said, I was full, I honestly had energy all the time. Obviously there's pressure and you want to maybe let off some steam. You get home on a Friday and you want to maybe let off some steam, and they go for a few drinks that you've got, are going to put you out of your macros and things like that. But I mean, to be honest, I kind of, the way I looked at that was like the two in a way ended up complementing each other. So one was a nice distraction from the other. So when I was like fed up and my brain was numb from revision, I knew I could go and train, and like I was getting a real buzz out of, really locking in the diet and feeling good, and then seeing the results of that each week. And, vice versa, when those temptations creep in and you want to drink or you want to kind of, eat or, whatever, I could kind of use my revision and uni stuff to kind of take my attention away from that as well. So, I mean, it was something I was actually stressed about and thinking, is this the good time to do both these things? But then I was also like, well, it's also probably would be a good time to do it, because when you're revising, you're not going to be doing a lot else. So why not, temper that with, a bit of gymming. It's a good gym, and just getting on top of your diet.
Yeah.
And they actually ended up blending quite well, even though I was a little bit apprehensive about doing the two things together. But then I'm really glad I did, because obviously once I finished my exams, then that was the perfect time where I wanted to let off a bit more steam and actually be a little bit more lenient with myself about having a good time. And I was really glad that actually I just made the most of the time where I was kind of, going to be a little bit desk bound anyway. And just, obviously when you're revising and stuff, that when you start to hit a wall, or when you're working hard, when you start to hit a wall with something, it's great to just be like, right, I'll just go and hit the gym, and you come out like a different person, and you come back and you're alert and we're up for it. So yeah, I think that's it. It's taking something that was maybe stressing you out, and then maybe just not stressing so much about it and seeing how it goes, and then you find out that they kind of complement each other, and there's a benefit to these things. But just going back to your point as well, actually, about why I probably jumped in with you, is you're so right about people don't like change, and I think most people are aware that they don't like change. And that was another thing, is I kind of knew that I needed someone to tell me what I was doing was wrong. And I think deep down inside, I knew if I went and told someone like yourself how I was training, you'd be like, mate, you do it. We need to look at this. I knew that deep down inside, but on the surface, I wasn't admitting that to myself. And I knew that if I saw you and told you how I trained, I knew you'd make me change it, if you know what I mean. So I think that was another benefit of using someone like yourself, is those decisions deep down inside that you need to make, but you're just not willing to make them. If you take it out of your hands and just give that decision for someone else to make, then it will get made, and then you'll see the effects of that over the course of a couple of weeks, like I did, and then you'll get behind it. But if you can't make the tough decisions you need to make, then that's the option. That's where you say, throw that decision into someone like your hands and say, right, Paul, I kind of know I'm doing something wrong, so I'm just going to hand myself to you for 6 weeks, and I'll do whatever you tell me to do, and I'll put my faith in you. And the worst case scenario, if it doesn't work out, what have I lost? But that was definitely another reason that I was thinking about jumping on board with you, and why I didn't just carry on doing what I was doing before.
Yeah.
Start of the year.
I mean, this is something I say to all clients, and I think a lot of people, when they go to a coach, they're scared of telling them the truth. And I understand that for certain topics, subjects. But when you're being coached by someone and you go off plan, as much as I hate saying that, or you do something you probably shouldn't be doing, being scared of not telling your coach about it is doing you no favors. You need to be honest. You need to be open. I say to all my clients, I will never have a go at you for being honest with me, whether how good it is or however bad it is. I just need to know. I need you to be honest with me. And if you're honest with me, then guess what? We can do something about it. If you don't tell me, or if you're dishonest about it, A, I'm going to be pissed off. And B, I can't do anything about it. I can't help you, or I can't find solutions to the problems you're faced with. And there was times where you're like, yeah, I'm going for a Friday night social at Leicester.
There was. Is that what you were sort of?
Well, yeah, it is. Yeah. I mean, realistically, it only happened once with you. But another thing I want to touch on is, and I keep speaking to prospectus clients, and what I offer is for 12 weeks, is for 90 days. And they're like, oh, I've got this holiday at week 5, or I've got this social at week 8, week 9. So I don't think it's the best time for me to start. And like, it fucking is. It is the best time for you to start, because do you know what? We can help find you solutions to those exact lifestyle factors. Like, you're always going to go on holiday. You're always going to have social events. It's a great time for you to sign up, because when it approaches week 5 and you're going on holiday, we can strategize that. Like you said, we can create a plan, and we can get And it's the same with the social events as well. They should no way be a stopping factor to doing something like this. If anything, they should be promoting you to do it.
I think the one thing I'd definitely stay away from doing like this 6-week thing from with you was more like
12 weeks, Rory. Let's say 12 weeks.
12 weeks. 12 weeks. Don't see it as like necessarily as a means to an end. So it's just like, right, so I'm going to do this 12-week program, and then at the end of it, I'm going to look exactly how I want. And you might do, but you got to think about, well, what's going to happen after that, right? And I actually think you almost want to see it as like, you're not just paying for someone to kind of give you diet and exercise advice, but almost see it as like paying to do a seminar or like a course, in that you're gonna, what you're really going to come out of it is obviously that hopefully the body, or you're going to be in the shape that you kind of wanted to be, or heading in the right shape. But more than anything, it's more about what you can take from it to carry you forward. So the things that, you know, I picked off from working with you, yes, that was a perfect example. And I had a big night planned, and it was all going really well. And I was then actually really stressing about that big night, and almost thinking like, I could just like not drink. I could just go and not drink and all of this, because I didn't want to ruin my gains. And actually, like, we talked about it, and you were like, mate, you should go. You finished your exams, like you're 100% to go. You said, look, we told earmark when that was in a couple of weeks' time. You know, and this is bearing in mind I was trying to lose weight. I wasn't trying to maintain weight. So, you know, that's why it was more stressful. Those things, you know, when you're maintaining, they are going to pop up. But it was sort of like, you were like, look, let's chat early that week. So we just agreed that we were going to chat earlier than we usually would, and we'll just have a chat about it, and we'll just come up with a plan. And the plan was very simple, and most of the plan was really you just saying like, mate, don't worry about it, you know, it's tonight, it's going to happen, you need to enjoy yourself, you get mad. But also said, right, let's just like knock 200 calories off, you know, let's knock 200 calories off each day for, you know, the 5 days leading up to it. That's going to give you another 1,000. Obviously, you know, your maintenance is actually this at the moment, because I'm thinking about what my like calorie levels are for losing weight, and you're like, well, you know, that's not, if you eat more than that, you're not going to put on weight, are you? Because you're below your sort of maintenance. So actually, you could probably get away with having like 4,500 calories that night, and you're not gonna be off program. And then when you put it like that, I was like, yeah, you're right. Actually, if I knock off those 200 a day, add that onto what's actually my basic metabolic rate, not my calorie deficit rate that I'm trying to lose weight, one night on 4,500 calories is not going to put on any weight, from, you know. And even if I end up having a bit more than that, you know, it's possible with lots of beer and stuff like that, you know, how much weight are you going to put on if you went another 1,000 calories over that? The key thing being that, like, you know, you just get back to it. You keep that isolated, and then we get back to it and get back on top. And that was tough. I mean, I think that was a challenge, was actually more the next day. Yeah. But that's where the accountability came in. Was, you know, the next day I got up and I was hungover, and, you know, there was the kind of, you know, natural cravings and all of that. But I knew I was on this program, and I'd had my fun. I'd done what we agreed, and I was accountable to you. And I knew you were going to look at my tracker, so I didn't put any calories in for the night that I had, because I didn't even know how many, you know, what I had. But I knew you were going to be looking at my Saturday calories, and I knew if I put in like 4,000 for that, then you'd be like, hang on, mate, I know we said you could have a laugh, but you've then gone and had 2 Mackie D's the next day or whatever. So that's
here's the thing, like, and it's nothing realistically. I worked that all out for you, and I calculated for you, and it was just rough sums, but it wouldn't have been far off. But the most important thing there was giving you reassurance that you could actually go out and enjoy yourself.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could relax, you could enjoy yourself. So therefore, you were less likely to resent this process. You were more likely to then, when you got to the next day, the Saturday, then just draw a line under it and then crack on with what you were doing beforehand.
Yeah.
And this is what I'm finding more of when we actually sit down in front of the camera with clients and I say, well, let's have a look at everything. Let's actually work everything out. Actually, what they think of in the head or the story they create in the head of how much damage they cause themselves, they're not actually causing themselves as much damage as what they think. So that reassures them, and that actually then gives them confidence that they're on the right track. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, and the other thing, going back to what we were saying earlier about almost treating this as not just a coming in to use someone to help you get the body you want, but also to educate you going forward. Those strategies are now, something that I kind of, sort of taken forward is you can take those kind of planning strategies, but also, that reassurance forward to know that that you're not gonna sort of just put on tons of weight if you just have like a good time every now and then, and you will have a good time every now and then. I mean, I think the other thing about doing something like this with you, Cookie, every now and then, and I'm sure without a shadow of a doubt I'll be doing another one, but once you go through this process a couple of times, you actually have the confidence to know you can have periods of your life where you're going to have a good time and you're going to put on a bit of weight. And it's that was one thing for me, is like I say, I lost quite a lot of weight in lockdown one, and got in kind of shape I wanted to be in for a while, but it was very easy. And that was probably the first time certainly in a long time where I got into really into shape that I was happy with. And then the stress then is like, well, I don't want to have to go through that again. And so now I need to keep this off, so that I need to endure some pain constantly, so that I just keep maintaining it. And then I came and did the 6-week program with you, so 12-week program with you, and we it was tough. There were obviously times where I wanted to go off program for sure, but actually, in the grand scheme of things, it was fine, and I got back to where I wanted to be and better off for it, in terms of, before I was just focusing on kind of losing weight, and losing body fat, whereas this involved putting on some muscle as well. So I felt much better for it. So, and now I know that I'm probably, I've come out of my exam period. So recently I've been kind of back, hitting it hard occasionally, not gone to the kind of first round of uni days where I was doing 5 nights a week, but you have the big nights out, and it's like, oh, do you know what? I'll put on a bit of weight in this time period, and it's not the end of the world, because I know I've got the confidence now that I've got the ability to lock it in again, and just shed that when I need to, or when it feels the right timing's right to it. So it's that reassurance, but also that confidence of going through a process like this, that you can do it. And so then you don't worry if you're going to put on a bit of weight or enjoy yourself for a while, or I've got a really crazy social calendar for the next 6 weeks, I'm going to put on a bit of weight. Not the end of the world, I'll lose it. Whereas before I'd have been like, oh God, look at that social calendar. How am I going to? I'm going to have to work so hard in between all those events and to not put on weight. Rather, you are going to put on weight, but it's not the end of the world. You'll lose it, and you'll also probably put on some muscle as well, because you're going to be upping your calories for those 6 weeks. So that's, again, go back to trying to put a positive spin on things. If you got a lot of kind of overindulgence things going on, be like, well, do you know what? I'll hit the weights hard those couple of weeks, and I'll put on a bit of body fat, but I'm also going to put on some muscle as well. So that's not going to be wasted. And then when I want to lose that body fat, it'll actually be easier, because I've got a bit more bulk with it as well. So, I think, that's definitely something I took away from it as well. If you were looking for another thing, I can't remember how we got to.
Yeah, mate, that's great. No, that's really good. Right, we're going to have to leave it there, mate, because it's been 50 minutes. I knew it was going to be a long one, because I knew how much you love chatting and just.
Yeah, man. What's the record so far?
But that's it. You've blown it out the water, mate. Out the water.
Oh, well, there you go. Yeah.
So guys, if you're listening to this live, and you want to get a question in the comment section, put a question in the comment section. If you're listening to it later, again, do the same. What I'm going to do is tag Rory now in the comment section. So when you put a question in there, he is able to answer it. Same goes if you got a question for me about anything, just put it in there and I will get notified. So that's how it's going to work regarding the questions. If you want to put some in now, feel free. Obviously, watching this later over the next few days, still feel free to put some questions in there after listening to this. Rory, thanks a lot, mate.
No worries, mate.
You know, it's really impressive. Excited for obviously what's to come for you. I think you're in a really good position at the minute. But thanks for giving up your time tonight and sharing your 6 weeks.
No, mate, thanks. It was my pleasure. And yeah, cheers for all your help, mate.
No worries, anytime, mate. Just going to cost you a little bit more next time.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. Well, knock it off the being on the marketing materials, obviously.
Just kidding. But yeah, mate, thanks a lot so much. Thank you for everyone for tuning in tonight and watching. We're going to have another live like this in 2 weeks' time. We're going to have Phil Framp on. He's just done a 12-week transformation with myself. Slightly different position to what Rory was in, and he had a lot of obstacles to overcome. So I can't wait for that one. But yeah, cheers, Rory, and speak to you soon, guys.
Cheers. See you later.